Okay, this next clip, it's a number of comments that Herman Cain makes here. First, he says that Congress needs to exercise proper oversight over the Federal Reserve. Then later, when someone asks a question of whether the Federal Reserve should be audited, he just dodges the question, and he just gets. They also get bogged down on a question of where the Federal Reserve is about the branches, and then he says, well, we need to people need to understand about the Federal Reserve, and we need a civics lesson from Daddy Cain, and he tells us that we need to call up our local Federal Reserve branch and ask to bring a group of Tea Party folk down there and meet with them, and we can just ask any questions we want, and they'll just tell us, and we don't even need a Freedom of Information Act. Here we go.
With respect to the Federal Reserve, is that Congress needs to do its job, because Congress ultimately has the power over the Federal Reserve. And secondly, I don't believe we eliminate the Federal Reserve. Congress needs to exercise. Now, Congress can't dictate to the Federal Reserve, and I don't agree that they should, because then it becomes too political. So Congress is not doing its job of oversight of the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve has made some decisions I don't agree with. We don't know where the money's going. We have no control over the Federal Reserve. Yes, we can.
Huh?
Sorry, Chris, we can't audit it.
How come we got bills for Congress trying to force it then?
They won't have it.
It's a private banking cartel. We don't have any rights.
Okay, we are not going to solve the Federal Reserve issue here today. Okay, I promise you, we're not going to solve that here today. I get calls on that all the time. Why is that? Are you familiar with all of the audits that already go on in the Federal Reserve that are public knowledge?
Bernie doesn't tell anybody.
Huh?
Bernie doesn't tell anybody. He won't answer questions to Congress.
The Federal Reserve is one of the tightest run entities I have ever seen. But
they're such a tightly run entity, and they have all these internal audits. And when do they turn over to the public the information from these internal audits? They don't.
But you have to go and ask. If you visit,
If we would just
you have the right. Here's a suggestion. Get some of you Tea Party folk together, call up the Federal Reserve office, and ask if you all can come down for a
Civics
session to better understand the Federal Reserve,
We need a
what
civics
internal
lesson.
controls do they currently have. They'll be willing to share it with you. They will. Most people think that it's some secrecy. They will, if you call and say, I want to better understand what you all do, they will sit down with you and explain.
Without a FOIA request?
Huh?
Without a FOIA request?
Yes! What district is it? What Federal Reserve district is it?
Yes. Don't need a FOIA request. Just tell you everything.
Okay. You got 12 Federal Reserve districts in Chicago. Is it Chicago? Okay, I don't know the number, but the Chicago is one. You got 12 Federal Reserve districts. So you find out which district you're in. You call that office and say you'd like to talk to someone that's in public relations or corporate relations, whatever, and say, look, we got a lot of questions about the Federal Reserve that we would like to better understand. That's how you approach it. Okay? Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a question. If you were elected president, would you ask?
Here's the dodge.
But first, we need to find out the audits that are already going on. What I'm saying is, this request for an audit, I'm not sure if that's the answer to any problem, other than people think that they don't want to be audited. I talked to a Federal Reserve president, the Federal Reserve president of the Kansas City district. Want to know why? I used to be on that Federal Reserve board. I said, Tom, do you all object to an audit? He said, no. I said, why? He said, if you see all of the internal audits we already have going on, we'll be happy to do an audit. But people don't know that audits and internal control we already have. That's what I'm suggesting that you find out, okay?